Dit is hartstikke awesome Jeff.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I am Alex Dingman.
I am Jeff Doss. Let's do this, guys. We have a great show. At the second half of the show, we are going to have Mason Stowell join us. So join in, start commenting, getting ready for that great interview. And we have lots to talk about, as it was a big weekend in martial arts, in sport martial arts. And we got some fun topics. But also, myself, I put on a tournament yesterday, okay, called Grand Slam Experience. So we're going to talk about that, my return as a promoter, and just the plans moving forward with that, and what that was like after a 7-year absence from that. So, and we'll talk about that in just a second.
The Grand Slam Experience. It's cool, man.
So
Just curious.
My tournament for years in my school is Grand Slam Martial Arts. The tournament was Grand Slam Open. Then when it became like a national NBL tournament, Grand Slam Open Nationals, of course. So I didn't want to have it like I have a standard of, hey, I want the Grand Slam Open to be something, bigger in its own thing. But I want to get started. I want to start this back in my hometown, kind of like starting over a little bit, but with some different concepts. And man, we always says, join us for the experience. That was one of our taglines, right? Experience the Grand Slam Open. And so I say, you know what, let's just do this. This is the experience. We're going to give you a little taste of the experience of Grand Slam. So that way you have something to look forward to for the Grand Slam Open. And, we use some medals that we have from way back then. And then we had new ribbons that had Grand Slam experience. So it was really cool. I know that was Angel won the open weight, won the championship for the fighting, and he called me like twice. All right. And was like, man, I'm just so happy that I won one of these medals. Because the medal, this one is shaped in the belt buckle, right? That we used to have. And so it was like, like that. So it's a cool looking medal, right? Like that right there, Alex. You know what I'm saying? So that was, so it looks like that.
I've heard this. I've wondered this all the time.
Yeah.
I know you did. You had to have. But do people actually wear the buckle?
Yes. I've seen several people wear them. Yeah. Now, the person I think with the most
wear the buckle?
Yes. Now, the person that has the most, I believe, is El Java. All right. And then I think second is Gina Thornton. But El Java.
How many does Java have?
I think he has 5. Plus a Hall of Fame award. Yeah.
You know, it would be super cool is if you have Grand Slam Open Nationals again.
Yes,
if
we will.
He gets all of the team to come in wearing his belt buckles, and that's how they enter the tournament.
That's cool.
That's a pretty cool idea, right?
Pretty cool idea. Yeah, he was talking to me last week at Battle and was like, all right, now I'm really mad that I'm missing your tournament because I want another buckle. And I said, well, all right, you're missing the experience, not the Grand Slam Open. So next time, it's like, okay, so I'll be there for that. Like, yeah, I'm not giving buckles this time, but, so I tell you what, man, I'm excited. I definitely, it was kind of crazy because I was stressed. It was, I was getting prepared for really, in a lot of ways, my smallest tournament ever. But to me, in a lot of ways, one of the most important tournaments ever for me, because it was doing some before. I always had a league behind me. I had a rating or some type, even with the SKIL or NBL. Pretty much my second tournament was an NBL, and ever then it was always a high level tournament. And so doing this on our own, doing this on a Sunday afternoon, which was wild, right? People were like, okay, Sunday tournament. But then it's like, wait, you're not going until like competition will start at 1:00. Yeah, and we'll be done by 5. No way. Yeah, and we were done by
I was
4:55.
wondering that too. Like,
Yeah, we were
how
done by
did you pull that
4:55.
off?
So we had 6 rings, and dude, I'm telling you. So the last time I had a tournament, I had 42,000 square feet. Right, that's how big our facility was last time. This time I looked up today, it was 5,400 square feet. Okay, my that's the same size as my building I have right here. All right, is how big the ballroom was. So we fit 6 rings in there.
Well, wait a minute. If your venue was the same size as your karate school or your studio, one begs to ask the question.
It's not the same though. Right. But it's not the same. That's all like my school isn't all floor space. Okay.
Okay. Well, then never mind. That makes sense.
Yeah. The floor space is about 3,000, but yeah, so it was, but yeah, I mean, it was pretty cool, man. So there were some fun things in there that we had. Yeah. And I think the first thing was the 2-round format for black belt forms, right? So we did it, of course, a little inspired by what I've helped create with the Korean Challenge, to where,
Makes
hey, you
sense.
know what? We're going to do the top 3 move on, and they have to do a different form in the second round. And we just did forms, right? Forms. So make it strategy. Should I do my traditional first? Should I do my open first? Should I do my extreme first and do creative first? Should I do
I
musical?
love this.
Yeah.
Love this.
And it was fun, and we saw a lot of people, changing it up. Sam Gonzalez was there. Thank you for showing my friend. He won the weapons, and I think he
Did he bring any
enjoyed.
rotten meat?
He had a lot of extra. He loved it because it was different, and he got to do 2 different styles of forms. And then I believe the winner of that for Bible was Alberto Hernandez. Yeah. So he's from Georgia and was visiting Northern Virginia, family up in Northern Virginia. And they're like, oh, this is great. We're leaving Sunday morning. We can go and hit the tournament on the way down. So it was pretty cool. And yeah, Brad, I know for me, the hardest one I think was the little guys. Because for
Little
the
guys
11
meaning who?
unders, like the 11 under black belts,
Okay.
mostly for weapons, it was hard, right? Because a lot of them don't have another. I never said do a different weapon. You just got to do a different form. But I also understand that part's hard. So I think, we were a little lenient on that part, on them changing it completely. But I think all the little guys did great. The 12 to 14, the 15, 17, all of them loved it. They were all ready, Yeah, Albert Hernandez, yeah, he won both rounds. His katas have gotten so much better, man. That guy's really pushing it. In the 40 plus side, Kerry Golbeck won the weapons and the forms. So that was a lot of fun, so I think overall, also in the 15-17, it was Noah Thomas from Team Revolution. And then in the 12-14 for weapons was Washington Parker, one of my students. And then, excuse me, and then Lexi from another one of my private lesson students from Elixon's that won the forms for 12-14. So, yeah. Yes, he said in that division they changed music and a couple things, like they took some tricks out or did some creative stuff. So they made it different. So I think
That's cool.
it was good. It challenges people in a way that I think we need, right, in our sport. Now next year we'll have more of because I'm going to be attached to some type of league probably, right, in that tournament. My plan is to have 2 tournaments, maybe 3, next year. So I'm going all in, man. And this pumped me up, and what's cool is the person who's pushed me to do this is Shelly. She's the one that loves doing this with me. It was our tournament together. And yeah, so she
I did
did
not
say,
expect that.
I know. Everyone thinks that like it's me doing this. No, she's the one like, hey, let's go. This is our time to do this. We've had your break, you know what, and let's do it our way. And so yeah.
All right. Yeah, it's not at all what I thought was going to happen.
Exactly.
That's
So,
pretty cool.
so that was fun. I tell you what, in the fighting side, we had, the other thing of doing that, I said, you know what, I'm just going to do 18 plus fighting. And I tell you what, like at a tournament, you have 12 people in 18 plus fighting. If I would have done it regular, you know what, like
There'd been no one.
you have 3 in one, 2 in another. It's that high level of intensity wouldn't be there to be like, hey, okay, I win my fight here. I'm gonna wait a little bit for grands, right? All right, I'm gonna wait a little bit for here. But for here, it's like, hey, all right, it's time. I'm going. And you get the cool thing of that's why I like open weight. I love open weight of different weight classes going against each other, and really just seeing who's the best. And so, congrats to our main ganger, Angel Diaz, coming down supporting, was there and did a great job. Probably the fight of the weekend.
Did his front leg look good?
It looked good, but I mean, so
Ooh,
the best fight of the
good.
week was him versus my son versus Wesley, and they went to he beat him 9-8, and both of their legs were just going crazy. All right, so it was fun to watch. And yes, Jen, it was great with the 2-round format. Thanks, Doug, for all your support. Sam, you as well, and Brett was there judging and helping out. So I appreciate you guys so much. And then on the women's side was Serafina Fish, and you know what? She had a great fights the whole weekend. And I tell you what, like Jim, I don't know, you probably saw the message he put in our group, and he was like, dude, I did not think that you were going to pull this off. I thought you were joking that we would be done by like 2:30, and they were in the car leaving at 3, so I mean, hey. So if
How
you
many? Okay, so I got a question then with that.
Yeah.
Your team of people.
Yes.
How big? How many people did you have?
Like running the tournament, helping me?
Yeah.
So like the core thing is like me, Shelly, as well as, when it's time to go, my mom, my dad, I also had a solid 2 or 3 people that were good at the registration part. We also, Doug helped me a lot with the rules, and I have my instructor, Lawrence Arthur, that was a great like arbitrator. He's good at calming things down, right?
Yeah.
And then for me, the coordination staff, like my friend Bobby LaPrade, he's been someone I've competed with since we were and hung out with since the early 2000s. He's always been a great coordinator at my tournament, and so I had him be the kind of the head coordinator of that and chief referee, finding judges, talking to people. Let's see. Yeah, man, my mom does a great job and all that, pushing everybody to keep going. And then, I mean, it was our school stepped up, and that's what I loved about it. Also, Chandries Pickett from Phoenix Karate did a great job of being a scorekeeper, but also being someone we could go to help us with how to run man action and things. And so, we used mostly Pro-Mac rules. Okay. We still had the options for like face shields and things like that. So we did that, but everything else was pretty good.
What are some big differences in Pro-Mac rules?
Really, it's not that much than the NASCAR rules. Very similar. I think the only thing we didn't do was we kept a 10-point spread, and I think they do 7. Yeah, Jim says here, I had to drive Serafina back to Raleigh and then drive 3 hours to Myrtle Beach for a work event. I never thought I'd make it, but you came through and I made it to South Carolina at a reasonable time Sunday night. Yeah, and we did, man. We had a great amount of judges, and yeah, it really did keep everything running. And that was my plan. And yeah, it's the culture, man. I tell you what, like for me, and I said that last night when I was talking to Shelly. Like there's a team of guys that one includes my instructor, Johnny Watkins, Preston Rogers, my Taekwondo instructor, Doug Armstrong, who's the crazy breaking guy. It doesn't matter what, he's just one of our great friends, right? And then one of his students, Chris Westbrook, also Kerry Goldbeck, and then the LaPrade family, right? And it's just like we always have this text after tournaments and stuff. And I just sent them and said, thank you guys so much. Like, thank you, team. We are back. Because that's really the way it's like they're my team. You know what I mean? Like when it comes to that, you know, like, and again, sometimes a couple of them may get on my nerves. Some of them may not help everything with the situation, right? But we're still a team and we're doing this again, you know? And so I'm excited about it.
So when is
That's crazy, Sam. You made it back to Florida by 2 a.m.
when is the Open happening?
So that's what I got through this one. The idea is looking at dates either March or the end of the year for next year. I would like to do the Grand Slam Open to where I have a year and a half, you know, of planning, and then keep experience either in the summertime around this time, or so I'd like to have one in my hometown, and then have one. We're looking possibly somewhere in North Carolina, or also possibly like near the Virginia Beach, Chesapeake area. So
you're not going to do it at the end of the year.
Oh yeah. Well, no. I'll explain more, but yeah.
Okay. There's just no way. Don't do that to yourself.
No, not doing like December. No, not at all.
Well, you said the end of the year. That's what I.
Oh, I don't mean like no. I mean like it could. I don't know, man. It's just the hard part about putting on a tournament and getting back is the dates. I mean, again, would I love to be back in April like we were? But dude, that was always one of the most stressful things for me was being in April, because I would literally sandwich myself, right? Put myself in between Quebec and Rhode Island every year. And just hope people came, and, you know, they did. Thanks, Dad. My dad works his butt off, man, and he had a great time. Yeah, he said some of the best companies you see are the small tournament, you know, and it was really cool. And I tell you what, there's a lot of old school guys that came in from that don't go to tournaments anymore. And some of them came in, it's like, I hadn't been to a tournament 40 years. Sports changed a lot.
What?
But I loved what you have here. It's like, they were excited. They're like, this is awesome. The vibe here is exciting. Like, guys that were old school competing like the 70s and 80s came in, about like 5 or 6 of them. And,
so how are they there if they haven't done tournaments in decades? Like what? How did this come to be?
No, like my instructor keeps in touch with people. I keep in touch with people. They'll pop up. They're just the old school people. They'll just pop up at your dojo and be like, "Hey, Jeff, how you doing? I hadn't seen you since you're a little kid. I want to see your school." Like that's just the vibe it is around here. You know, I'm sure that you have it the same way, right?
Kinda. Maybe. Yeah. I don't.
Maybe.
No.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I think if you're someone who's just around, you're not gonna not have been to a tournament in decades. Like we're gonna get you there. Like you're not here. Right. Yeah, that's what's nutty to me.
I get
like what? How is this possible?
Right. That's cool. But yeah, man, I mean, overall, it was a great experience. I know there was a lot of other great regional tournaments going on. I know the Benz family had a tournament up there, USA Sport Karate tournament up in New York. I know there was some tournament, I think, in Missouri. And who else? If you guys were at another tournament, let us know. Oh, actually, the Pleiades had a tournament. John Pleiades had a tournament this weekend. He had a big turnout. And he showed me his setup was one of the most creative setups I've seen. It was almost like 2 X's, right? And it's something I think a lot of people are going to adjust to. But maybe we'll talk about that sometime when we have him on. But it was pretty cool the way he has it. Thanks, Robbie, for coming out. Hope you had fun. Yes, here we go. He said turnout was really good, surpassed his expectations. Consolidating some of the division like forms was great. There was 10, 11 forms divisions and 6 or 7 women's fighting. So, you know what? For a small event that we had, it was great. Yeah, Missouri. Yeah, the Pro Mac event was in Missouri. And you know what? It was fun. And that's the biggest thing. Thanks, Chris. Awesome, bud.
Let's also say, so you had it on a Sunday afternoon.
Yes. Oh, I'll tell you the pros and cons of this. I get there at a normal time. Like, all right, if I'm going to have a tournament, usually I'm going to be getting up super early. I still was super early, right? Yeah. I get up. I couldn't really sleep. We're having different things to decide. And then
my head was just going there. Go ahead.
yeah, and then I get up and it's like, all right, well, I'll be at the hotel by 8. So really, like, I'm there like 5 hours before the tournament starts. We're getting things going. I still, the whole time, I'm freaking out, and I shouldn't be. And Shelly's like, "You need to chill out. You're getting annoying. Go do something. Go sit down or whatever, you know." And so, I mean, literally, like, it seemed like
you're
I had
being annoying.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yes. So, but I tell you what, like, the whole weekend, Thursday felt like Friday. Friday felt like Thursday again. Like it was weird because I just kept thinking, hey, the tournament's Saturday. Hey, I need to be ready. I need to be ready. I need to be ready. And you know, the thing that made it where we had to go later was my instructor has a martial arts retreat. So there were seminars going on, and he's really cool. And he's like, hey, you can start setting up around us. We'll just be teaching. It's okay. You can put tape down. You can do whatever you need to do. Just make it work. It's all good. So that was cool. But it also made some things hard of like, hey, you know, I can't put all the pipe and drape up until, you know, everything's done, you know, and honestly, that wasn't an issue at all either. So, I mean, things like that, you know, made it a little difficult, but yeah, the biggest thing now on the other end. So I had so much time. We're like, all right, it's 11 o'clock. Dang, we still got 2 hours till we start. What the heck? Like, and I've been here for 3 hours, you know? So
wait, what time did it start?
1 p.m. Yeah. So
wait a minute. What in the wild world of sports?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
my head is not wrapping around this.
The retreat went from 9 till 12 in the morning.
What's the retreat?
Right? The martial arts retreat was an event that my instructor puts on. He has martial artists from all over come and put seminars on all day on Saturday. Okay. And he did a banquet on Saturday night. And then Sunday, he finished it with 3 hours of training. Okay. And then I did the tournament after that. Okay. So, yeah. So,
but that's what
the tournament started at 1.
Like you said, you started at 1.
And we were done by 4:55. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. And that's part of it too. It's weird to wake up a normal time of the day and still do it. I tell you now, though, I wish like today I didn't get that day off in between like I normally would. Right. So, it was a little wild, but yeah. Yeah. Anthony, he got up at 3, drove 5 hours, drove back Sunday afternoon, made it hard, but having to work on Monday. Yeah, I get it. I know that's the thing. I don't always, I mean, I'm never really a big fan of the Sunday turns, but there were some positives to it, man. There were some positives. So
the driving 5 hours. 5 hours is all right. I'd do 5. 5 is okay. Okay. But what did Sam say he did? How he drove from Florida?
Oh, this dude's nuts. Yeah, I know.
And isn't he South Florida? So it's not just Florida. It's like South Florida.
I don't think he's that far
before you even get out of the state.
He drove 10 hours.
Sam.
Yeah.
10 hours.
He's nutty.
I'll tell you right now. There's no chance. Nope. I'm not driving. I'm not driving 10 hours for nothing.
Yeah. So, I mean, I appreciate, I had people from Connecticut, Maine, Florida, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, Michigan, so yeah, it was awesome. Fort Myers. Yeah, wow. That's nuts.
No, I'm going to be straight. I don't know how you did it in 10 hours. That is actually a little perplexing to me because
I don't know, man. Must have been all that raw meat.
Never made that kind of a trip.
Must have been all that raw meat.
Yeah.
It messed his stomach. He doesn't eat anything. He just drives. Yeah, Andrew came down from Connecticut. So yeah, man, overall it was a great one, and I'm excited to be back into it, and just thank you for all the support, guys. The Matt came out to film it. Anthony was filming it there. So we're going to be getting a lot of social media, different things out there. So, and he's Puerto Rican. Yeah. All right. So before we have
what that means though.
Yeah.
What is it?
Before we bring on Mason is not on yet, but he will be soon. let's go to our move of the week. All right. So this is the move of the week. Is
This one was rough.
it was, man. The 360 jump outside crescent kick. All right. The top 5. All right. 360 jump outside crescents. And obviously, we got a lot of old school here.
Well, before we go into that, remember, this is one of those moves where it's the same move. People call it different things.
Yeah.
Because, like, for me, I didn't. That's just a lot of words.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it is.
It's a lot of words. When I first learned how to do the move, I didn't learn it with that. That wasn't what we called it. It was called jump, spin, wheel kick.
Jump, spin, wheel kick. Okay.
But like I did a wheel kick, boom. All right. But I understand inside crescent, outside crescent. All right. So I called an inside crescent kick, just crescent kick. And then an outside that was the wheel.
I just call it outside. Yeah. 360 outside is what I call it. 360 outside. Yeah. But some people don't think, I'm like, I just took out the jump because I don't do an outside, like a standing outside crescent. If I do a spinning kick, it's going to be a spinning hook kick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can take the word jump out because what are you going to do? Do a 360 on the ground?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a spin kick. It's just a spin crescent, right?
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. But, all right, you want me to start? I'm going to go with some honorable mentions. You may have a lot more than me. So I'm going to go with
I got a few. I don't have a ton.
All right, so I'm going to go with Vince Diacampo. Vince Diacampo was a great competitor on DKT Force One. He also was the first person. Now, this is a whole other thing, and I'm going to have him when we talk about commas and finger rolls. In 1995, like 94, 95, he was the first person doing finger rolls way back then. And people weren't doing that, like with their commas.
I don't remember seeing it in the mid-90s.
Yeah. And so go and look him up. Battle of Atlanta, 1995. First thing he does, boom, and he does several of them in his form, and it's sick. But his jump outside crescent, it's a crescent, but it also could be a hook kick, and he kicks the back leg out and snaps it, right? So guys, let us know who your favorites are, and some variations can work on this, all right? 100%. So we got Vince. Another one is Vince Cohen. Vince Cohen was from Florida, short little guy, firecracker, had this crazy like mullet type haircut back in the day, shaved head. He was small and could jump super high. His jump outside crescents were great. And the key thing with a lot of people is like they tucked so much that back leg so tight that it made you. And that's the way for me. I learned because I wasn't that great of a jumper, but man, I could do 2 or 3 or 4 in a row, Oh, my list just completely blew up in my head because I just said that. All right, I just got to add 3 other people. All right, so Vince Cohen.
3 other people.
Yeah, Stephen Ho. All right.
All right, that's great.
One of the original ones, one of the best ones back then. I have to put him there. This is probably my only one that's from as early as 2009. Okay. And that would be Marcel Jones. All right. Marcel Jones had a great jump outside crescent. He also had one of the first innovations of that where he did it and landed on one leg, on his kicking leg, and then did what I would call a standing wheel kick into the split or like a pop hook, right? Into a split. That was amazing.
Cooler than the other side of the pillow. Wait,
another one
is honorable mention?
Yeah, having as an honorable mention, yeah, on that. All right. So Daniel Spalding, okay. Daniel Spalding back in the day was on Team Fury. Actually from Kentucky, another one of Ken Eubank students. Great jump outside crescent kick, but he was also the first person to do the Fei Long, like the jump outside, follow with the outside crescent with the inside crescent, right?
Yeah, and we were just talking about this before the show. That was
all right.
That was one of the cooler moves and hard to do. Like really,
it was. Yeah,
really hard to do at the time.
Correct. All right. The other ones for me were the ones that did multiples. Okay. And I'm kicking myself for not putting them in here, but it was the thing back then to do
a double.
See how many jump outs of crescents you could do. Right.
Okay? Oh yeah. 100%.
So, these 2 guys, I'm sure there's someone else I'm missing, but Ramir Mosqueda from California, literally one time I think he did like, a lot of times he would do 5, but I've seen video of him doing like 8. Okay. Actually, even 10. And then you got Andrew Cabalon, who goes and does 12 jump outside crescent kicks in a row. All right. And so those, I'm kicking myself that they're on my honorable mentions, but because for them to do that, that's insane, right? But these guys had some of the cleanest ones and creative. So number 5 for me is Ron Searles, just like what Brett said. Ron didn't really do a traditional crescent kick, but I got to put in here, it was more like a helicopter kick where he would kick both out, and it would be like a split kick, but he would hit it so high like that, right? There we go. All right, so Mason's waiting in there, so we got him. He finally got in on. So we're gonna add him in a little bit. So he would be my number 5. Ron Searles, one of the highest jump outside crescents you'll ever see. Number 4, Jeff Durbin. All right, Jeff Durbin. This guy, his jump outside crescent, another one where his base leg was almost like above his belt, which is like crazy, right?
Right.
Do you remember that? Yeah. And so that was beautiful. These 3 to me are like the 3 kings of this move. And so number 3 is Jimmy Pham. All right. One of the cleanest jump outside crescent. And he had a little bit of flair to it. Number 2 was Carmichael Simon. And number 1 is John Valera. So to me, it's just, that's the era of that move, right? It's honestly, I have a hard time picking between John and Carmichael because Carmichael is the one. All right. So John was the first to do 2 in a row. Carmichael was the first to do 2 in a row with the jump front kick, pop front kick after, right? And it was kind of like they kept building off of each other. And so those are my top 5.
But for that move, the answer between the 2 of them is John, because
he also did
John
the gyro.
Floated.
Yeah. And he also did where he did it and then spun after. Yeah.
And then after the kick, he continued a rotation, and where it was just almost like, I'll just do this thing afterwards, right? And you're like, what the frick is this, right? Yeah. What is this sorcery, right? But Carmichael was so much faster. You didn't really appreciate his we'll call it, I don't care what you want to name this kick, right? Outside crescent, right?
Yeah.
Because he went so fast, you really didn't get to see it like you saw John's. John really floated with it, and you saw, and the people who do it the best, the people who are on the list, whether it's honorable mentions or top 5s, chest out, all right, chin up, foot going straight leg or a hook, but coming across the face. That's freaking hard to do, right? And still be up with the leg tucked. Like, it's hard. But when Carmichael did it, it went so fast, you didn't appreciate it the same way.
Right.
So
all right,
I like your list. Part of you got some honorable mentions that I'm like, honorable mention, and I had some honorable mentions that you had in your top 5. But I'm going to jump into mine. There's some that I knew you were going to say is like honorable mentions that I didn't, like Daniel Spalding, because we were just kind of briefly just riffing, and I'm like, okay. But I agree with that. But Jeff Durbin, I think, is fantastic. And that it wasn't a great team for him. It was a great performance when Jeff Durbin, Daniel Spalding, and Kingston Ing had their team for him. I thought that was really cool. It was not a great team for him. It was a really great performance. All right. Another honorable mention. The technique of the kick wasn't perfect, but your jaw was on the floor, and that's Jason Borelli, because he's just freaking high in the air. It wasn't the same
remember him doing that.
Yeah, it wasn't the same experience as his jump front kick, right? No. It's not the same, but it's up there. He's still jumping through the roof. Another honorable mention is Charlie Lee. All right. Charlie Lee, for the same reason why we talked about with the jump pop front kick, right? Chest up, makes it perfect, would stick it. There's not a stick on this kick. You either have to hook and snap it, or you have to let the thing finish to go through. Another honorable mention, which is similar to this, technique's always perfect, is Mike Chat. Mike Chat, perfect technique with this, does not get as high, does not go as fast, does not float, but it's a great kick. So still an honorable mention. Number 5. I would say probably the coolest person we're going to mention as far as like a person, he is cooler. And that's David Douglas, right?
Oh, yeah.
David Douglas.
I just don't remember his so much. He didn't throw it as much, you know?
He didn't throw it as much.
No.
Here's what's funny. So my kids are into this. I'm going to make this quick, right? The kids are into these YouTube shows, and I'll come in upstairs, or I'll come downstairs. I'm like, what the freak are you guys watching? Like, and they watch these weird things where they're like,
that's a good one.
Making this Minecraft yada da da, or I'll challenge you to this thing. We got to make something out of chocolate. Like, stuff's stupid, right? And they watch this show, and I'll make this quick, called Ninja Kids, and I'm like, all right, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued. Turns out that there's just a family that started and opened up a West Coast martial arts school, a West Coast demo team school in Utah, right? And they're basically just gymnasts and martial artists. And I'm like, oh, I know this school. And they're like, you know these people, Dad? And I'm like, all right, we'll pump the brakes now. Right? I know the people that are of their organization. They're like, who? And so then I'm like, well, actually, you know, because you watched them in the movie, because they watched the movie Surf Ninjas.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm searching, and sure enough, they had like a clip with Ernie in there. And I'm like, so then I started showing them David Douglas, and they're like, oh,
yeah,
you beat this guy before? And I'm like, yeah, kind of. Yeah, but so now I'm becoming cool. You know what I mean? But I am not on this list. David Douglas is. I can't believe you had this guy as an honorable mention, but at number 4, I have Marcel Jones. All right.
Yeah.
Marcel.
Oh, I mean, literally, he was on the list, and I flipped him last second. So, yeah.
All right. Yeah. I am glad, but I'm also surprised that we are the same with this one. Number 3, Jimmy Pham. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what you were smoking to not have my number 2 in your top 5 or honorable mention in any capacity. What are you thinking missing on Anthony Atkins?
Yeah, I don't
Atkins.
think of him doing that move.
No, he brought out both legs. He jumped higher than everybody. He jumped higher. He could do a jump outside crescent and go over someone's flash kick. That's how high this guy would go.
You're right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's true.
But number 1 we agree upon, it's John Valera.
Yeah, that's right.
Stuart Kwan. Right. DDB's joining. Stuart Kwan. Yeah. I must be missing this. I don't remember this off the top of my head.
I mean, it's way back in the day, bro. Yeah, so we're gonna have to go find some of those and see.
But see, this is also a movie like that, like what he's talking about, like in the movie. Yeah. This is a move that like you'd see in movies. So like, I don't know. Do we include Jean-Claude Van Damme?
Oh God. Yeah, that's true.
You know what I'm saying?
We could. He
kind of named the whole kick, named it the helicopter kick. Like, you know what I mean? Is there something to that?
Well, next week we'll talk more about like our plan, just our idea of like what we talked about with like the females doing this move and things like that. I don't want to talk about that right now, but we want to talk about that and some of the best ones that are doing that now. So, all right. So let's get ready to bring on our next guest. And we have the guy. Hopefully he's looking up. There we go. All right. There he is. What's up, Mason?
What's up, guys?
Thanks for having me
now. Thank you for having me. I literally just finished. So I'm glad you guys were still talking about stuff because I was literally completely out of breath. So it works out. It's all good.
Look at this dude. You're over there. How old are you now?
22.
22.
22. My knees are starting to pop. I got back pain. I'm getting up there. Let me tell you, it's not easy getting old. All right,
dude, you can't say that. You can't say that when you compete with me. All right, like you sitting there. What?
I'm literally, dude. You're messing with me, right? Are you messing with me?
Of course, I'm messing with you, man. No, of course.
Okay, good. I was about to get upset. All right, but look at this, guys in the gym, still training at this moment. I can see the glistening.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
What is with
the
the mullet haircut though?
Me personally? Are you asking like me personally?
Yes, I'm asking you with the mullet haircut.
Mason Stowell. Honestly, I never really had a cool style. Like if you pull up stuff from like when I was like 14, 15, I was just like, man, this kid needed to do something with his hair. And I don't know. It was just one of those things. I moved out to Kansas City. I'm not going to say I copied the whole Patrick Mahomes thing. All right. But it was one of those things. I got a little inspiration. I was like, hey, you know what? Maybe I could rock that a little bit. And so I just went for it. And nobody in NASCA at the time was rocking it. So I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna own this. I was never the guy with the crazy hair. So
well, you got it. You got a little curl to it, so it
for
fits.
sure. Especially when I'm training, it just. I mean, right now it's flat.
Wait, give it a. I want to see a side profile. Do a side profile. Look at that.
Yeah, look at it.
Look like a dang hockey player.
That's right. That's right. Put me in, coach. Put me in, coach.
I love it. Oh man. So,
well, how's
Mason,
what was training like tonight?
Yes. Yeah, what was it like?
It was good. We got USA Karate Nationals coming up. My coach Jarrett and I, we have this online training platform, and we're getting all of our kids ready. And so Monday night's one of those nights I jump in with them. Keeps me motivated, keeps me moving, seeing all the faces on screen. And so, we got a couple big tournaments coming up, a huge camp coming up with the Olympic women's gold medalist in kata from 2020 Tokyo Olympics. We got that coming up next weekend. So we're super hyped for that. And obviously I just don't want to be too out of shape, gotta show up and show out a little bit. So
remind me again, what was that woman's name again?
Sandra Sanchez.
But and is she from Spain?
She is from Spain. Yes. Her and her husband / coach / one of the greatest martial arts minds in my opinion of all time.
Really?
Are coming out. And so it is going to be a busy weekend, but they come out every year for us, and every year it's amazing. So I'm
quite an endorsement. One of the greatest martial arts minds.
Greatest martial arts minds, especially for Japanese kata.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Definitely. I mean, I agree. I mean, especially you talk to everybody who has him out, and just the people he's influenced as well, right?
Most
and the training, right? I think the elevation of the training, when you watch some of the videos, just watch her Instagram, his Instagram, whatever, and you're like, whoa, all right, this is different.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's one of those things. They take it down to every tiny little step. You know what I'm saying? And so what I enjoy most about the training is the athletic side of it as well. I think a lot of people just think it's about like, what can I do within my forms? How can I practice it? Is it just over and over and over and over again? And while that is important, I think exploring the athletic and performance side of things is really, really what's impressive when you watch these guys. When it comes to the type of different exercises that they can do, what I think is fascinating is that they can do an entire resistance workout with no weights whatsoever, just using body weight, resistance bands, and then a partner. Figuring out how to do squats, explosive jumps, and then translating that into kata when it comes to explosive jumping movements as well. So it's a blast every time I get the opportunity to work with them.
Well, let's kind of stay on that topic for a moment, since we're talking about Mason Stowell. Right? Welcome back, man, by the way.
Hey, appreciate that.
I think it's fair to say that everybody has to have some kind of an advantage and something that they can lean on. Like, I am this is something that I can utilize in my performances. With Jeff, nobody's going to kick better or better technically than Jeff Doss. Cannot happen.
Not happening.
You, my friend.
I tried. It doesn't work.
You did not. You didn't even try. You were like, I better try something.
I kicked to the knees, all right? I kicked to the knees. I'm not kicking up there.
Well, wait a minute. Now, with you, Mason, it is definitely your athleticism in the sense of your speed, strength, power, explosiveness, and even your agility tell me how. When did you realize like I can hang my hat on this and I can be better than pretty much most guys at this thing? When did you really kind of know that like that's kind of who you are?
If I'm being completely honest with you, I didn't know until I was about a year into it, like straight up. It was one of those things. I grew up in NASCA. Obviously,
Okay.
you kind of start in the regional circuit, and I got my Taekwondo black belt. That's my first love in martial arts, and I don't think people realize that. Taekwondo, Tung Sudo, those are my first two styles.
Maybe
And
it's because you
so,
got to do the Korean challenge.
you know what? No, no, that's not happening. I'm gonna go ahead and stay in my lane because I don't want to get embarrassed. All right. I throw a mean gay back though. I'm just saying, if you
All
guys
right.
come up, be like, listen, I'm hitting that first step back ki, it's over. All right. I don't know about the rest of the kata. I don't know about the rest.
Beck has a warm spot in my heart. Okay.
Yeah.
Me too.
I
No, it's
love
great.
Korean, but I don't even say that like I'm great Korean form stylist. I am a Korean martial artist, but I don't know everything. But I know that one. All right.
Hey, that's
So all right, but continue. I don't mean to cut you off.
No, it's
really
all good. You know what? Gayback has a very special place in my heart. It's the very first kata that I threw in NASCA when I was like 11.
Whoa.
I got smoked by Chatanyara, and it was the last time I did Gayback. And
Yeah.
it was one of those things, at that point in time, the Japanese takeover was in full effect. And so there wasn't like especially the start of the traditional challenge division. That was just kind of rolling out back then. And
So what year are we talking around this?
This is like I think my first year competing was 2011, 2012, I want to say.
Yeah, so
it wasn't
you're
like
right. The
it wasn't like
Japanese takeover is in full.
yeah, that was right when it was kind of peaking. And
100%.
back then there wasn't the Korean challenge. If there was, quite honestly, I'm probably would have stuck with that. I would have been like, okay, Korean, that's what I do. I'm gonna stick with that. Here's my division, and you see Chatanyara and there's not a whole lot of like jumps like that in Korean style, and everything's very power based. You stick everything, and I see these people as literally like I thought it was a extreme form, and I'm like, how am I going to compete with this? Like this is, and so it was that year that I saw my coach Jarrett Liker competing in one of the night shows. I believe it was Diamond Nationals 2012. And I was like, he did Super Rempe.
He won the ring then.
That was correct. Yeah, that was correct. And Super Rempe was the kata that he did. Very, very different than Chatanyara. And I just remember being so like drawn in to that performance because Super Rempe is a performance kata,
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's not hard. In my opinion, technically, it is the hardest Japanese style kata, but it is not very exciting, You have to have a very, very special gift of learning how to perform that kata in order to make it exciting. Some people get it, some people don't. And that's just what it is. And he gets it most definitely. And it was one of those things I was like, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. How is he standing still and has so much intensity? Like it's crazy. And he charges up that first move, just boom, it sounds like a gunshot, and at that moment I was like, I got to connect with this guy. And it was the next year.
What's crazy to me, Mason, this is your calling. You had to do this because I'm thinking about it and I'm like, I was there at that tournament. All right. And I remember that finals. And Matt Emig was in that finals. If I was a kid watching something, I'd be like, I want to do that. Right.
Yeah.
Because, like, dude, you're an athletic freaking dude. So that's why if you were able to watch all of that and go, I want to do what that guy's doing. That's why I'm like, dude, this had to be your thing.
Most definitely. Right. Most definitely. And at that point, I had done a couple of training sessions with Matt Emig. So I was well aware of who he was. And like, first of all, I mean, y'all were talking about those Pop 360 crescents. I mean, Matt Emig is in my opinion, when it comes to cleanliness, I mean,
he's the cleanest tricker of all time.
Literally the best. You know what I'm saying? And so I just had to kind of slip that in there. But shout out Matt. But it takes a lot to take down somebody like Matt, especially at that year. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
I just think, again, it was that whole performance side of like I was a CMX kid as well. And honestly, like CMX Korean, that's just what I did. I did a little bit of sparring, but like Japanese was definitely not on the table. And so I think the fact that was just so different to me definitely stood out. But it was one of those things, like, you know, I connected with Jared. I went to one of his tournaments in Kansas City one year, booked a lesson. I didn't. My mom booked a lesson. I had no idea what I was doing. But I just kind of showed up and I showed him my Korean form because that's all I had. And he was basically like, all right, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to start completely fresh. Like first lesson, he started a new kata for me. And it was like cool. Like, this is it. Like I'm learning these different stances, and yeah, it just kind of stuck with me, quite honestly.
What do you mean different stances?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for me when I look at the difference between Korean and my specific styles in Goju-ryu, Rei-ryu, and Shita-ryu, you know, Shotokan and Korean styles have a very similar base, right?
Yeah. Shotokan is just itching to be a Korean style.
A little bit more power based, you know, everything sticks. There's not a whole lot of finesse necessarily. It's just everything has to stop, and it takes a specific type of stance to be able to stop all that power. You know what I mean? And I think with Goju-ryu especially, you think about, you know, Goju-ryu quite literally means hard and soft style. And so there's an equal 50-50 mix of hard techniques and soft techniques, and learning how to tense up and then relax. And with that, there's a lot more flexibility with the stances. Not everything has to be a power stance, if that makes sense. Even the way you do your cat stances is very, very different. Everything is very tight with the base. Sanchin Dachi, very tight. And so, you know, I think it was hard for me to adjust to that. You know, one of Jarrett's biggest things starting off with me was, hey, you got to bring in the base, like bring it in a little bit. You do not need to be that wide with your stances. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, all I do is like trick passes into these stances, right? Or I'm doing these high side kicks going into these stances. It's like, what do you mean I don't need to be as wide? And that was something that stuck with me, quite honestly, for a couple years before I started figuring out, like, hey, I actually need to bring it in a little bit. So, yeah, that's kind of my origin story. You know, that's how everything kind of jumped off, and it's been rocking ever since.
So Mason, all right, I tell people, all right, again, yes, right now you are the best in the. Again, I think sometimes we say Japanese division, really, like, you do Okinawan martial, like it's Okinawan. So it's Japanese Okinawan. I think a lot of people say, oh, he's a Japanese career. Not really, okay? Japanese is more Shotokan, okay?
Correct.
But so you were one of the best, especially in the open circuit. And again, I want to get into, you know, you going and what it was like transferring over there. But I think if you were still doing extreme, you would be competing for overall as an extreme right now. Okay. For me, you were one of the best extreme forms competitors there was, especially as a junior. And then when it came, all right, when you come to that adult time, you had to choose, right? You didn't have to, but you made that choice.
You didn't have to.
Yeah. So what is that choice for you? And let's, you know, so that way, because I think that's a hard thing, is like narrowing down to one division, and what made that? Because I feel like, I mean, obviously, yes, you've gotten a lot bigger. Okay. It's probably a little bit harder for you to do some of the athletic things you used to do, but I've seen some videos of you messing around and doing stuff. So I don't think that's completely true.
Well, and then speaking of bigger, like, how big are you? Like, how tall are you?
Yeah, I'm 5'9", about 190. So I mean, 5'9". Look, I don't think that's tall. When I go to WKF and I stand next to all those Japanese dudes, I'm pretty damn big.
Giants.
So,
but 190.
Yeah,
you're like 40 pounds more than everyone else.
Yeah.
So
it's a big difference for sure.
And that's super hard. Once you get close to 200, and you want to start tricking, that's a lot to move around.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
For sure. I mean, look, it wasn't one of those things like my size started to affect the way that I tricked. It was more just kind of like, quite honestly, and I hate making excuses, but when COVID hit, it was one of those things. It was like, hey, Jarrett and I had a sit down conversation. It was like, look, like NASA's kind of on pause right now, but there is an opportunity here with this NKF circuit, WKF. Like we could go this route because we didn't know at the time like how things were going to pan out. Like we didn't know how long tournaments were going to be shut down for. And like the online tournaments, I did one of them one time. It just wasn't for me. It's just not. I'm literally just training,
Right.
with an audience, and it just it wasn't for me. And so there was a couple opportunities for me to focus on my training and like, hey, like let's see where this goes. And so we did. And we got a couple of obviously rough starts, as you do kind of with any new journey. And then it's that first round that you pass and it's like, oh, there might be something here, and so you focus on that specific kata that you did really well with, and then you just kind of lean into that. And then all of a sudden you're not tricking anymore. And it was just one of those things. It's like, I love tricking, like I could still throw down a couple of things. Yes, it's hard. But it was one of those things that's just like kind of lean into what was going on. And especially with the Olympics, I think that there was a lot of hope to see kind of where that was going to go. And, again, I just kind of leaned into it. I was like, hey, Olympics is cool. Let's see about, entertaining that for a little bit.
Can I give you like a small little pro tip since you mentioned that?
Absolutely.
Don't ever stop tricking.
You know what's funny is I'm going to bring back some tricking clips soon. All right.
All right.
I don't mean for competition. I mean in general.
Right.
Just keep doing it, just to be doing it, and you will be a better martial artist and performer because of it.
I literally just had this conversation yesterday with my dad. That's so crazy.
That's awesome.
This up.
What did he want you to stop?
What's that?
Did he want you to stop tricking?
No, he's like get back into it, and I'm sitting there thinking it's like, I mean, talk about like the perfect activity. Of course, like I think people obviously take it a little bit too far with, I mean, some people don't take it too far. I love watching like what people can do, but like from an injury standpoint, it is very,
you're going to get injured way more doing CMX than anything else in open martial arts.
100%. I think if you know what you're doing and you understand air awareness and spatial awareness, tricking is very, very safe if you stay on top of the stretching, stay on top of the mobility, stay on top of your, the ground, stay upright. But
the hard part, Mason, is, I mean, we get ballsy.
Hey, hey, maybe I can add one more spin. Maybe I can add another kick in here, and but
you end up with a torn apart ankle.
Hey,
how many ankles have we torn apart because of what we're tricking on? We're trying to do axe kick aerials. How many axe kick aerials have you tried where you landed when your whole body weight is leaning over on that? Just destroyed every ligament you've had in your ankle.
Well, yeah, I mean, and we didn't have spring force when we were doing it. It was like we were just going right there, and I mean, I have so many videos of like doing B twists back in the day and landing wrong on my ankle, and and hobbling around. Yeah, it's crazy.
The side of your foot.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah,
but yeah. So I mean, Mason. So going from one division, I think it's I think so many people would love to see you do it, but we also like. You've taken to be the best now. You know what I mean? You've gone to that next level, right?
Yeah.
And so that's not from just being one of the best, but now to being the best. And I think in a lot of ways, like you could really, I mean, a lot of people put you on their list of one of the best in open competitions of all time. especially this run you've had. What was it? 20? Was this your 4th year in a row or 5th year in a row winning the battle for grand championship? I know it was 4.
I
at least,
believe.
but I can't remember.
I believe. I think 2019 was my first win, and then I don't think I've lost at that tournament since.
See, that's
And were you an adult then, or no? You were.
No,
you were
I was a junior. I was a junior,
Okay.
and in 2020, I don't even remember if they had the tournament in 2020. I don't think they had the tournament in 2020, but
no. Well, they did, but it was small. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay, so it was
you know the
2021.
answer,
All right.
Jeff? You asked him
Yes.
like, didn't you just win like, I don't know, 47 in a row? And he's like,
Yeah, exactly.
I
Something like that.
believe if I had to think about it, it was get the frig out of here. All right?
Yeah, I know.
Take your Oscar and go home.
That's awesome.
No, but that's absolutely fantastic to be able to do that. But and that's the thing is sometimes people get, not competitors personally, or maybe, but people get fatigued, seeing that like, oh, Mason's gonna win again, and especially in that kind of division that you're in. We've seen that over the years. We've seen that with other guys, like we saw it with like John Sue, right?
Mhm.
Where it was like, okay, yeah, John's got a thing, like, but John was he was great, right? And he was a great performer, right? In my opinion, you have a better performance than John, right?
Ooh. Well, I don't know.
That leads me to my question that I was going to ask. We're talking, Jeff broached it, best, in the conversation of best of all time. What do you say? You're going to say top, let's just say, let's make it easy, top 10. 10.
Jeez, that's really deep. Jeez. All right. Dang.
You're
saying
5. If I say 5, it's gonna be a chalk 5.
True.
I mean,
10 guys. 10 guys who do this division.
I don't want to put any name on anything. I think bottom line is I like to do what I like to do.
All right,
and
Mason,
I feel like
I'm gonna do you a solid here because I can see where you're going. Okay.
I'm just gonna let the people decide. That's all I'm gonna say. When I'm done with this, I don't want to have anything to do with this conversation. I'm
gonna do you a solid. Take yourself out of it. Is that easier now?
I think look, I think there's been phenomenal athletes and we're talking about specific Japanese Okinawan style forms, correct?
Yes, that's it.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. In NASCA.
And we're talking in the open circuit. Yeah, in the open.
And the reason why we say that, Mason, is because if you say there's this guy from Portugal, I'm not gonna know who the hell he is.
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I mean, look, we could list off a bunch of names for sure. I'll start first with
I already know you have the top 10. I already know you have it.
I quite honestly, top 10, I could definitely give you a top like 5. I could give you a top 3 in my opinion. But I think if you talk about how the forms are currently performed and how they're currently competed, you cannot say anything without talking about my coach, Jared Liker. That is just the bottom line.
Correct.
And I think he will always be, in my opinion, an innovator when it comes to open sport competition.
I don't disagree with any of that.
Especially when it comes to Goju Kata. There's a lot of things that he's done. He was the first to compete double bow staff. Okay.
Right.
CMX
that is a wild trivia question right there, too.
Isn't that insane?
Great
form, by the way. If you guys go watch it, like that is one of my favorite like forms ever. And then of course you have people that come out much later, like Reed Presley, who just take it and just like blow it through the ceiling. You know what I mean? And so I think when it comes to, I mean, Joey Castro, we can't talk about about Japanese Okinawan forms without talking about Joey Castro.
You got 2 so far.
He's a good friend of mine. I think what Joey has done for the sport is absolutely phenomenal. And when you talk about longevity, he's been doing it for so long at the highest level, and he rarely makes mistakes. Like it's one of those things. It's like you're sitting here watching him, and you're like, man, he's so old, like, but he's performing like he's younger than me, and it's so frustrating because I'm like, dude, you are not competing your age right now, and there's guys like that. Derek Megan, who's one of my old teammates, that's somebody that I looked up.
I didn't see that one coming, but I see where you're going.
Derek Megan, he was kind of the young buck of the first, in my opinion, the first wave of Shito Rikata. So I think those guys right there. I think that there's more that I'm probably forgetting. But honestly,
well, yeah, we said 10. You're at like 3 or 4.
I mean, honestly,
you could do 5 like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think on top of that, Andrew Cabalon, he's a phenomenal competitor, been around a long time. Sam Diaz, these are all guys that are still doing it too at a very high level. I mean,
how about this? I'm gonna do it a little different.
All right.
Okay. And tell me where you would put this person. Like, you're not competing against these people. Okay. So where would you put them? Who's better? And give me your opinion. Gabe Naga.
You may not have ever seen his stuff, okay?
I don't even know that. I don't even know who that is. I'm gonna say Kevin Thompson. So I just I'm sorry. That's before my time. What year was that?
94. Yeah.
94. I was born in 02, brother. I was born in 02. All right. I'm sorry.
Listen,
you know what? I'm gonna go back and do some research. I'll do some research. Kevin Thompson is a legend, though.
I would say, I mean, for me, as a straight up Japanese form, well, actually, they're both very different. All right, they're both. It's hit or miss each day. It just depends, right? But again, Andrew, we said open circuit, so Keith Weston was on that. Yeah, for me, it's Keith Weston is in that top. Legend.
Legend. I love Keith.
Keith Weston is amazing, right? And,
absolutely.
And so Keith's one of those guys. Of course, people put Ariel in there because we think of Ariel as WKF, but Ariel did NASCA for years. So, and what he accomplished was amazing.
Yeah, that 2016 run. He first debuted, I believe, it was the 2016 U.S. Open. Nobody had seen anything like that before. I mean, you had seen amazing competition, but that was like the first like WKF style competitor to jump into like an open circuit. And I think what made his entrance into the league so phenomenal was the fact that he had no idea what he was doing.
Exactly.
No, like, you're 100% right on that.
You're backstage with him. I remember being backstage with him, and he was freaking out. Like it was the biggest stage, and that's what NASCA does, especially at the U.S. Open. It's just this massive stage, and you have all of these people. You've got this camera flying across. WKF is very traditional, very traditional. There's the tatami, there's the referees, there's a scoreboard. That's it, Right. You walk on, you have to bow a certain way. That's it, and then you walk off after you perform. And so him going from that to just like this production was phenomenal. And then of course just performing, you go to the WKF and you see what he's doing. You see that all the time. But bringing that to NASCA, nobody had ever seen anything like that. And I just remember getting feels.
Yeah.
I mean, when you compete in our circle, you're forever one of us.
Right.
We might, and this what's nutty, but yet awesome at the same time. When you're competing in our circle, even if at the time we don't even particularly like you, but if you go out and you start having success, We champion you. We say you're one of us. You know, like that guy. I know that guy. Really? Are you guys friends? Wow. We were really like tight, but like I'm in the same circle as, and that's what we say. All right.
Yeah.
And we just, because it's cool to say, like, I know them, you know, and it's a big deal when you're in our circle. You're forever in our circle. It's more of a brotherhood than a circle. All right. And it's a really odd, strange one where we can really meet each other for a few times a year, like 10 times a year at maximum, right? For what? A sweaty ballroom, all right? That smells like feet, right? And you do it over and over again.
Oh my
You never
God.
actually see each other in real clothes. It's just white pajamas, right?
White pajamas. Oh my God.
I'm lying, I'm dying. All right.
Nah, for sure. For sure. Yeah.
But
I think
a
there's
great
a lot of legends in the game. I mean,
so I'm going to ask you a couple of things. So I'm trying to get you to make some decisions, Mason. You're doing a pretty good job of dodging, but you're not going to dodge too far. Rather than ranking, because we tried that didn't work. Okay. Tell me what you would do differently if you were this competitor when they were competing. Okay. If you were this competitor and they were competing.
Good question.
What would you be like? Oh, I wish this person, you know what? If I had their performance, I probably would have done. And I mentioned him earlier, John Sue.
I think when you talk about John Sue, you say you can't talk about him without saying the word presence.
Oh, he's
and I think, you know, I've only ever seen him compete live, like maybe once, maybe twice. And it was in the latter, obviously the latter half of his
But
career.
I'll help you out, Mason. If you had seen him the 5 years before, it looked the same.
Consistency.
Yeah.
So you didn't you missed it. You didn't really miss it.
Right. He was the most consistent and like one of the most perfectionist people I've ever met in the sport. Right. He was a teammate of mine for 2 or 3 years, and being able to train with him, hang out with him, and like it was that, right. So again, you know, we saw him take Unsu to a different level, and he did Conquer Diet to a different level, right. So just to say, like, what kata would you like to see him do, especially ones that we have now, right?
Jeff,
someone like
that. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the way that the sport is going, I think that we kind of have a missing element in Shotokan. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like
explain more.
There's a lot of Reiryu, there's a lot of Goju-ryu, a lot of Shita-ryu, which I'm not mad about. I think it's great that you know, there's that much exposure in those styles. But when it comes to Shotokan, there's not a whole lot, and I don't know why. I mean, there's phenomenal athletes that I personally have competed against. Caio da Silva, who is one of my favorites to go against, because it's not apples to apples. It's apples to oranges in the Shotokan versus you know, typically Goju-ryu or Reiryu when I compete against him. And
so you guys are like two totally different performances.
Completely different. Yeah, completely different. And you know, there's a lot of really strong Shotokan athletes in the United States, open circuit or otherwise. And Caio is at the top of that. And so, you know, you see him at a tournament, and it's like, okay, you know that it is going to be a phenomenal division, you know, and it's one of those things. I wish that we had an opportunity to go against each other in the nighttime show. It was always, we do our elimination ahead of time, and that knocks one of us out to go to the night show. And I think that's, in my opinion, I feel like in NASCAR right now, there's an opportunity to, you know, introduce something along those lines. I think Shotokan and having that rivalry of the two different styles is important. It sucks, you know, based on how the divisions are laid out now. that one has to eliminate the other.
Yeah, Mason, like, honestly, I think what most people like to see because of it is, you know what we do? We just get rid of this and we do classical challenge head to head, like they do Korean challenge, and we have the Korean challenge as a thing and a Japanese as a thing. I think the competitors will like that more. I know a lot of people think the promoters think, oh no, they want the multiple times in the night show or the multiple drafts. They just want something that's going to be exciting, right? You put that in there and it's going to be great. And you put those because they're still, even though there's similarities, but also very different,
Yeah.
Because again, like when myself and like Billy Smart go against each other, you have a Tang Soo Do versus a Taekwondo.
Yes.
Still so completely different, but similar. Same thing. If you and Kyle were doing, I mean, I think it would be great to see you guys do it at the same time. Even if you want, like it would just be exciting, right? I think more people would just love that, to see that, especially at an adult level, right?
For sure. I think that there's a lot of opportunity to grow the sport in that way. I think what you have been able to do, and a lot of those guys, I know that there's a lot of names involved. We're able to do with the Korean challenge as a start to kind of build a little bit more separation between the two instead of just traditional forms as a whole. I think that has created a whole new excitement to the game. And I know we're kind of going off on a tangent here, a little side quest, but
welcome to the show.
Hey, the Korean challenge is where it's at, man. And I wish that it was, in my opinion, just Korean challenge and traditional challenge, or call it, Okinawan challenge, something like that, where you have the Korean based styles and you have the people that enjoy. I mean, you can round up a bunch of Japanese Okinawan referees, get them out of there, bring in the Korean guys that know how to judge that and how to referee that. And I think that would create a phenomenal atmosphere, just being able to separate the two like that, and being able to have a Shotokan athlete like Kaio kind of circling back now, like John Soo. I just think that they come, once in a while. And I think that's a missing aspect right now. There's a couple of people that know how to do Shotokan, but I'm talking about like strictly Shotokan. This is what I do. These are my katas, and I think that's one thing. John Soo, I think, when John Soo retired, I think Kaya was like the next Shotokan. Like there's just been these like huge gaps. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because Joey Shotokan, but we saw him do a lot of Anan and
he's so fluid, and that's again, that's
go back and forth.
When you talk about his longevity, he talks to me personally about that, and in the Shotokan katas, certain katas having certain different effects on his body when it comes to different injuries that he's had to deal with, and especially when you start getting older, you start to realize, like, look, I have a lot more flow and finesse with katas like Paparin, and that's one of his staples now, and he's like, look, I'm gonna lean into this because this, I can actually do this, whereas there's a little bit high risk of injury, so again, we talk about longevity. I mean, that's just him being able to balance in between styles, but I'm talking about like, strict Shotokan, and I think he would probably consider himself strictly Shotokan. But again, I just think his flexibility is phenomenal between the styles.
Oh, it is. Alex, I'm going to go ahead so we can get closer to the ending, but I want to talk about just your injury, recovering from that, what that was like coming back. We saw you at AKA Warrior Cup win, and then what was it, a week later?
Yeah, 4 days. 4 days.
4 days. Yeah, good God. All right, explain this, man.
For sure. Well, obviously, I was riding the wave of excitement for sure. It was one of those things. The previous year at AKA Warrior Cup didn't go as planned, and I was super bummed out. That was not even a month after. That was 3 weeks after my dad had his stroke, which was a huge, like, threw everything off. And it was one of those things that was like, should I even go to this tournament? I haven't been training. Like, I've been in the hospital with my dad. Like that's been what like I haven't even thought about going into the dojo or putting the gi on. And it was one of those things I was like, you know what, like I'm gonna do this. I had a week to prepare for that tournament in 2024, and I did good. I felt phenomenal. It just didn't go my way. I think a lot of it had to do with that prep. But I was super bummed out, you know, because I wanted that win right after that, really for my dad. But it just didn't work out that way. And so obviously coming into 2025, I was really, really I made sure I was prepared. The training camp was there. Like the mentality was there. Like nobody was going to beat me. I wasn't going to make any mistakes. You know, I had a couple of young bloods coming up in Luca Riccati, Matthew Gruisha. You know, those two specifically are incredible. And, you know, it wasn't going to be easy. It wasn't going to be easy for sure, but I did what I needed to do. It was a tough day of competition for me for sure. But I was just so determined, man. And I just kind of knew going into it that was going to be a good tournament for me. And so,
yeah, Mason, I think those are some of your best forms I've seen. Like just, you know, competing with you and, you know, when you're right next to someone and you're next to them on the stage, you can feel like there was a difference from 2024 to 2025. I believe.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I had something to prove, you know, I feel like I did. And, you know, the Warrior Cup is just such a coveted trophy. It's like, you know, I want it, you know, that's like one of the only trophies in the league that I'm like, that I need that, you know? And so, and especially again, with the whole thing with my dad, like it was just, there was definitely a emotional side to that. But, you know, when it's all said and done, and when you finally achieve that goal, it's like you kind of ride that wave of excitement. And coming home, it was kind of like, all right, I'm going to take the next week off. I'm not going to focus on my training. I'm just going to, you know, be there for my dad and help him out. And you know, we have a family business. It's been a part of the deal for as long as I can remember. So I've been operating these machines for a long time. But when I moved back home to Colorado right after my dad had his stroke to help with the family business, I had to kind of step up and take a bigger role. And yeah, so clearly I still need a lot more practice. But I was
what is the business?
I was working on a hydraulic paper cutter. He's got a print shop. And it's a newer machine. I never really messed with it before. And I just had my finger in the wrong place at the wrong time. I was up behind the blade trying to clean it out. My foot pressed up against the pedal to ignite the blade and just cut my finger clean off. And it was one of those, like, I'm grateful for the fact that it was a clean cut, because, you know, I still am dealing with a ton of nerve damage. And like even in training tonight, like I hit my finger a certain way on my gi and it just lights up, you know? And so I'm definitely still trying to navigate that, but it was one of those injuries. It's like, I didn't know how bad it was. Like I knew right when it happened how, like, that it was bad. I knew it was bad, but I didn't, like, I looked at it briefly. I was like, that's disgusting. Wrap it up in a paper towel, get me to the hospital. And it wasn't until honestly after this, actually, no, I had to clean the bandages out. And that's when I knew, how bad it was when I unwrapped it. And I was like, it was just weird. Like your finger's just not, like, it's just not there. And
and Mason, hold on. Your dad told me about like him having to like find your finger, like the end of it, right? It was like, oh, bro.
Yeah, it went into the paper goes into this catch tray, and so anything that gets cut goes into the catch tray. Hence, you know, the finger.
Yeah.
And so he had to pull out the catch tray, retrieve my finger from the catch tray of the machine, and, you know, put it in a Ziploc bag. It was traumatizing for him.
Let me see your hand.
How's that?
Look at that. So that's
I'm gonna be honest, Mason.
that's
That
awesome.
That looks good, huh? Here,
yes,
I'll show
actually,
you,
it does.
kind of the length difference, but
I'm gonna be straight.
Essentially,
That does
yeah,
look good.
a lot of this is fake. This is all kind of added, just stuff. And then my nail bed was still intact barely, and so it kind of just grows at a weird angle. But yeah, there's a lot of fake stuff there. But if I'm doing kata, you can barely recognize it. So
yeah.
I'm super grateful for that. I have a picture of like when it actually happened, and there was a lot more that was missing, but
Yeah, I didn't like that picture. That was cool.
the surgeon did a phenomenal job at just moving
100%.
things
Look at that.
around. Yeah,
I
it's
know.
great.
Crazy.
And so nerve damage is the biggest thing right now, but the hardest thing for me was not being able to lift and doing the weight training. And I couldn't put my hand into my hoodie without just the most intense pain.
Dude,
So
Yeah.
lost part of his finger. Such a meathead that you're like, the hardest part was I couldn't lift. You're already in here looking like a college football player. All right. Man, look at you.
Look, it was
You know what's
it was a hard couple.
you know what's nutty though, Mason?
Oh, I bet.
My late father-in-law had a similar injury. Right? It wasn't a paper cutter, but it was a big sheet. It was a big thing of sheet metal.
Yeah.
And it cut one of his fingers. He didn't get it back like that. It was
really
gone forever, man.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He did the same thing, but in the early 80s, like they couldn't do that. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's why when you showed it to me, I'm like, I was just itching. I'm like, I'm dying to see this thing.
Crazy. I only have about
bad,
half an inch missing,
Yeah.
And so
that's not bad.
It's not bad. It's not bad at all, especially when if you see the picture of my finger in the Ziploc bag, like it looks like half of my finger, and so what they're able to do these days is
crazy.
It's wild.
And I didn't know how good it was until, I don't know, a month after the surgery when I got all the bandages off, and it's like, oh, like, okay,
Wait
great.
a minute. You didn't really see it until it was like a month after?
No, other than that brief half a second that I looked at it, like right as it happened. I wrapped it in the bandage, and I anytime anybody was messing with it, I was looking the other way because I was gonna pass out. And it's so much pain. It just feels like the whole thing is gone, and so, yeah, when I saw it, I was like, oh, this is great. So yeah, for sure. But,
all right. So Mason, talk about that return. And I know during that time, you again kept coaching, teaching, training as much as you could. Right. But we saw you come back at the battle, and again, man, like especially your finals performance, man, like the power and I'm sure there were so much emotions, like you wanted to do it. Just explain that feeling.
Yeah, it was. I even said it in the interview. Right after the win, it was like I wasn't gonna let anybody know, but I was so nervous, and I was just when you're gone and out of the game, especially in this sport where it's like it's not really necessarily a seasonal sport. Like we've been doing this year round for like almost 20 years for me, right. And when you miss 5 to 6 months of space where there's no competitions and quite frankly not a whole lot of training, honestly, like you don't know how you're going to react. Like it doesn't matter how I felt the week before. There's still that little bit of and you guys know this. It's like when you are in training, doesn't matter how many times you train, your form is different in competition. It just is. It feels different.
100%.
It's never the same. And so there was always just that little voice of like, hey, you haven't done this in a little bit, are you gonna be able to stick your movements? Are you gonna be able to, what if the mats are slick? Are you gonna know how to recover? And it was like, it was one of those things. It's like, I try to keep myself very poised, pre-competition. But even the first day of forms, like, I just feel like I had to get one of my katas done to be able to like fully break myself in. Like that first performance, even though I won, I did not feel good. And there was a couple of balance issues that I was able to cover up really well. And a lot of people don't like see those. Some people do. I feel every single one of them. And so like I can feel whether that performance is good or bad. But I'm also over so many years of competing, you just learn how to kind of cover things up. And you know, it wasn't until that second day when I lost because I stepped out of bounds that I was like, all right, I need to turn it up. And in the runoffs, that kind of just felt so right. It just felt so good. And I was just like, all right, I got it. I'm back in my groove. So it took me 2 katas. You know, the first one was kind of rough. I won, but I had a couple of issues that I'm glad I was able to cover up. And then the second one, I just stepped out of bounds. I'm like, I've never stepped out of bounds in my entire career. Like, what am I doing? Like I've been doing this for so long and I've never stepped out. So there's just little things that went on. But yeah, that runoff's performance felt great. And then night show, I just felt right where I needed to be. So yeah, I knew going into that performance that I had it. It was it had nothing to do with who I was going against. It had everything to do with the confidence that I felt after my performance in runoffs that I just had it. So yeah, I mean, it's hard to beat anybody when they're feeling like that, if I'm being honest. So that's it's been a great last couple of weeks of reflection and getting back to training. But yeah, there's a lot of big tournaments coming up that I gotta stay prepped for. So
yeah. So are you competing? Are you just coaching? Or are you competing at nationals this year?
I'm competing and coaching. So it is more than even Atlanta. You know, I got more students going to this than that tournament. So it's a very, very busy week as far as me prep. I got two kids in Croatia right now for youth league tournament in WKF as well. And so it's like these next 3 weeks between this, our kata camp with Sandra and Jesus, USA Karate Nationals, and then US Open is about to be ridiculous. So it's like that whole thing about like peaking and then staying at that peak. You know, there's no such thing as coming back down at this point in time. So I just got to kind of stay active. But yeah, absolutely.
That sounds exhausting. I'm not going to lie.
You know, especially when you're competing in 2 different leagues, like you kind of just learn that some of these tournaments run back to back. And this is always July is always the worst when it comes to the US Open. We always host our camp in this month. There's USA Karate Nationals always going to be back to back, if not the same weekend as US Open. And then on top of that, you know, there's just there's this other stuff that's going on, you know. So this is always kind of like the big time of year for all of us, you know. Just
where is USA Karate Nationals?
So this year is in Dallas Fort Worth. It kind of jumps around a little bit, but they had it here 2 years ago and it was phenomenal. Love that area. I wish there were a NASCA tournament down there.
Me too.
It's a great area
as well.
Yeah. So
I mean, that's kind of the birthplace for a lot of martial arts in America. Is Dallas Fort Worth.
Most definitely. It's a hub for sure. So it's always good to get down there and get some good competition in that area for sure. So it's going to be a busy couple of weeks, but
and whereabouts are you right now?
So I'm in Colorado. That's where I'm based out of. I'm
what
in
town?
Littleton. If you haven't heard of it, now you have.
Of course, I've not heard of
it. It's a little suburb of Denver, so about 25 minutes southwest, and it's been my home, and right on the mountain range. Good old little town, elevation is no joke out here. That's why I love it. So gives me in my opinion a little bit of a slight edge on competition, especially when you travel to sea level. So.
Well, see, that's the trip. Is when I was out in Colorado, I did not notice it.
Really?
And I thought for sure I was going to have a really hard time because I already don't breathe well in my nose because I never know which side I'm going to breathe on because this thing's been busted 47,000 times. Right. So I'm like, I'm probably going to die. All right. And I didn't feel nothing.
Really?
But here's the other weird thing. So you're born and raised in Colorado. You're probably the only person I know who resides in Colorado who is from Colorado. Nobody's from Colorado. People end up in Colorado.
That is true.
Yeah,
that is true.
especially nowadays.
End up there.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. There's a lot of traffic, a lot of California license plates.
Oh, is that really?
Yeah, it's very frustrating. So, yeah, no, it's one of those things. It's like, you know, when I was growing up, it was always, you know, Colorado native, you know, like that was the thing. And now it's like everybody from everywhere is coming here. And yeah, it's, you know, it has its downsides for sure, but it's still my home. And I love the high altitude. The Olympic training center is here in Colorado Springs. That's always fun to go to. Yeah, I've been there a couple of times, and phenomenal. Even just to walk through and see that facility, it's phenomenal. So, yeah, gotta love it. Colorado kid, for sure.
That's awesome, man. Well, dude, Mason, thank you so much for joining us, man. I know we went longer. Well, if you haven't heard any of the show, we always go long, but we went longer than what I promised you. But we had a great time, man, sharing things and just hearing your story. And again, for me, it's always an honor to compete with you, compete alongside you on stage, on the floor, whatever. And again, I really enjoyed talking to you this last, I guess, 2 weekends ago, and also your awesome parents, man. They're just amazing. So
yeah,
so keep doing what you do, man.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. You guys are phenomenal. I love tuning in and watching, and it's cool to be a part of this officially. So, yeah, I look forward to potential future episodes, and I don't mind going long. I like talking about this stuff for sure. So
nice. Yeah. Well, let's not make this a one-time thing. Let's not call it a comeback.
I'm with it. I'm with it. I'm with it. I'll do my hair a little bit better next time. Make sure I'm not sweaty from training. But I got you guys.
The flow a little.
I'm gonna have to get that rolling a little bit more. So it's all good. Thank you guys.
Awesome, brother.
All right, take it easy.
Thank you, man.
This has been another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I'm Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Doss. See you guys next week.